Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. And on Wednesday night, Baylor took care of business like Baylor does. They're awesome. They won by 15 against Oklahoma. Duke had to hold on for dear life like Duke does. I don't think they're very good this year. But there was one other topic outside of the Arkansas-Tennessee game, which we'll get into in a minute, that I think is worth digging into a little bit deeper. And that is the Michigan Wolverines. Not sure how much any of you have been paying attention to them, and we'll get into why it's okay if you haven't been momentarily. But Michigan is currently ranked number 10 in the country. They were 9-0 coming into the night, and they just beat Minnesota. They beat the brakes off Minnesota, okay? Minnesota is coming off a dominant win over Michigan State last week. They beat Iowa at home on Christmas Day. It's number 16 in the country. They're playing well. Michigan beats them 82-57, 25-point win for Michigan. And like I said, with the win, they improved to 10-0. They're 5-0 in the Big Ten. They are the only undefeated team in the Big Ten to this point. And I'll just ask you this. We are in the middle of a season where we're trying to figure out, okay, who is number 3 behind Gonzaga and Baylor? We all know that Gonzaga and Baylor are number 1 and number 2, whatever order. If you think Baylor's better than Gonzaga, I'm not going to fight you. I think most people think Gonzaga's better. But when you start talking about who's number 3, I think there's been a few teams that have been in that short conversation. Villanova has absolutely been in that conversation. They can't keep COVID out of their locker room, unfortunately. They haven't really played in like 3 weeks. Texas is making a move, but are they really on that level? Kansas had their moment in the sun. Wisconsin had their moment in the sun. But I'm just going to tell you right now, I think Michigan is absolutely in the short conversation of a team that is in that number 3 spot, might be the favorite or at the very least the best team in the Big Ten, and they are a team worth monitoring. Again, 10-0, 5-0, the only undefeated team in the Big Ten at this point. But I also think when I kind of look at Michigan, I feel like nobody's talking about them, which is fine. That happens in college hoops sometimes. But I feel like it's also sort of reflective of where we are in college hoops right now. And it's funny because if you guys listen to this show, you know my buddy Nick Coffey comes on all the time. Nick is a great friend of mine. And I went on his radio show on, I guess it was Monday morning or Tuesday morning in Louisville. You can go back and listen to that. It was his show on 790 KRD. Find his podcast on his Twitter page. But Nick asked me point blank, he said, why does it feel like there's no buzz in college hoops this year? And I told him point blank, I said, I think it's a few reasons. I think, one, those truly uber elite blue blood programs are kind of not very good this year. Duke had to hold on for dear life against Boston College to win, to improve to 4-2, but they're not very good. Kentucky, we talk about plenty on this show. They're 3-6 right now. Can they turn a corner? North Carolina has struggled early. Arizona is kind of off the radar. They're not playing for an NCAA tournament bid this year. Kansas is good, but they don't have that Andrew Wiggins, even a Doka as a bouquet guy that you can kind of wrap your head around. And so I do think that's part of it. But I also think that college basketball, maybe more than any other sport in our landscape, has been really impacted by what COVID has done to it. And by the way, 2 things. 1, not going to go on a COVID rant, but 2, I will explain how this gets back to Michigan basketball momentarily. But when I look at college basketball and I look at the landscape with COVID, what I see is something very simple. Like I said, I think college basketball has been hurt more than any other sport by just the start and stop weird nature of COVID, right? Where college football, yeah, your team might not be playing every weekend, or your team might have to take a pause, or your team might not be able to play on a given weekend, but you tune in every Saturday, you know you are getting just about everybody else playing in college football, right? So you sit in front of the couch on a Saturday, you know you're getting Bama, Clemson, Texas A&M, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Clemson, I think I said, Ohio State, Michigan, whoever. You know when you tune in on a Saturday, you're getting Michigan and Ohio State and all those teams. Sunday, you know you're getting a bunch of great games. You know Monday night you're getting the NFL. You know Thursday night you're getting the NFL. But college basketball, it's already a fragmented schedule that unless you're a diehard, it's really hard to follow. But you do have those tentpole events and moments to kind of wrap your head around and say, okay, it's officially college hoop season. I need to pay attention. You have the season opening Champions Classic, which of course is Kansas, Michigan State, Duke, and Kentucky. You have the Maui Invitational, which leads right into the Thanksgiving holiday. You got the Big Ten ACC Challenge, where you get the Cameron Crazies, and you get North Carolina, and you get Michigan State, and you get Iowa, and you get all those great venues. And we really haven't had any of that this year, right? The Champions Classic, it's usually the opening night. It was the second week this year. The Maui Invitational, it's not played in Maui, and it's in an arena with no fans in North Carolina, so it doesn't feel like the Maui Invitational. The Battle for Atlantis is played in South Dakota. And so you don't have those events that, again, you can wrap your head around if you're not a diehard college basketball fan and say, oh, man, college basketball season started. I got to get my head together. And so because of that, I think it's been hard to track, okay, who's good, who's not, who's this, who's that. Gonzaga's had a bunch of big games, but really outside of them, what have been the big games that everybody's been excited about in college hoops? There's been a few, but it's not that many. And so I think a lot of casual fans are having trouble kind of wrapping their head around college basketball. I should also mention that, by the way, there's so many programs you can't keep track of who's starting and who's stopping, right? Notre Dame in football or Florida in football, if they have a COVID outbreak, they miss a week and they're back the following week. But in college basketball, it's like, man, like my team, are they just not playing? Do they have a COVID problem? What's going on? Like, even as an example, my mom, she lives in Connecticut. She watches UConn. And she said to me, she goes, I never know when they're playing because they've had 2 or 3 games that were supposed to be played that ended up getting canceled. So again, what you're probably sitting here thinking is, Torres, you just did a 5-minute COVID rant. What does it have to do with Michigan basketball? Well, I think Michigan basketball, maybe more than any other program in college basketball, has been really hurt by the fact that no one knows what's going on in college hoops because we don't have those events and we don't have those dates and we don't have those times to kind of just jump into college basketball with 2 feet. As I look at Michigan, they didn't play in Maui. They didn't play in Atlantis. They didn't play in any of those events that they would normally play in. Heck, if you even go back to last year, they were in that battle for Atlantis, beat North Carolina, beat Gonzaga, and all of a sudden everyone's talking about Michigan. They obviously did play in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, but again, with no home arenas and it's just a weird schedule, you have trouble even figuring out who's playing in that event and when and who's playing who. And oh, by the way, Michigan's game in that event never ended up getting played because they were supposed to play, I think it was North Carolina State, and NC State couldn't play. And so it's just been a crazy kind of quiet start to the season for Michigan. On top of that, I would also add, because of COVID, the schedules have gotten all screwed up where 2 of Michigan's 5 Big Ten games, you know when they were? One was on Christmas Day. I guarantee none of you watched that. And then the other one was on New Year's Eve, which I guarantee none of you watched that either. I mean, I hope you didn't. It was New Year's Eve. I hope you were rocking New Year's Eve with Ryan Seacrest or whatever you do. But I bring it up because it's like, if you haven't realized that Michigan is 10-0 and 5-0 in the Big Ten, I don't blame you. How could you? They haven't played in any big event. They didn't play in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. And oh, by the way, they played on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. Tough to kind of follow a team unless you're a diehard Michigan fan. And so when I look at Michigan, I want to give them their due credit because they are right now playing as well as anybody in the best conference in college basketball. And what I also want to do, by the way, is tell you a little bit about them. First of all, they play just really good, sound, fundamental basketball, which is why I think they do have staying power. Now, we'll get into their schedule in a minute, but I do want to give them credit because they do the little things well. They're top 20 in the country in rebound margin. In other words, the amount of rebounds they get relative to the opponents. They're top 20 in field goal percentage defense. If you rebound really well and you defend really well, you're going to win a lot of games. On top of that, they got a freshman that you need to know named Hunter Dickinson. And it's really interesting, right? Because in this one-and-done era of, all the freshmen before they arrive, I feel like this guy's really flying under the radar. This is a kid that's averaging 17 points per game, 9 boards per game. He leads the team in both categories. And because he isn't this super big long-term NBA prospect like Cade Cunningham at Oklahoma State, like Jalen Suggs at Gonzaga, like Evan Mobley at USC, I don't think people realize just how good this kid is. But I think you can make a legitimate case that when we're talking about Michigan now, because remember, I'm telling you Michigan's good. I'm just telling you. You don't have to listen if you don't want to. Wouldn't be the first time people don't listen to your boy Torres. They're really good, and he has been maybe, I would say, the most impactful freshman in college basketball. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying that he is the best NBA prospect because he isn't. But when you talk about the most impactful freshman in college basketball, Michigan has a kid named Hunter Dickinson, low post player, old school, back to the basket center. He's probably a little bit better than I'm giving him credit for. But the point is, he's not the guy that jumps off the page. He's not the guy that has the 40-inch vertical leap. He's not the guy that throws behind the back passes. Because of it, I think it's getting lost under the radar. On top of that, with Michigan, I want to give Juwan Howard, who is their coach, credit for something else. They actually lost a lot off last year's team. And it's funny because we live in this world where, one, we focus so much on the freshmen, but we're completely ignoring Michigan star freshman Hunter Dickinson. But beyond that, we are seeing a year in college basketball where maybe more than any other season in the history of the sport, continuity, returning players matter, right? Baylor basically brought back their entire team except for, one starter, Freddie Gillespie. Gonzaga returns a bunch of players. Wisconsin, Creighton, Iowa, Rutgers, on and on and on and on and on. Tennessee. The best teams are generally the ones that basically brought back everybody from last year. And while Michigan certainly has brought back key pieces, they also lost one of their best players, one of the best point guards in school history, Xavier Simpson, who was third in the country in assists last year, and a big guy named John Teske down low. And so when I look at Michigan, I think they're one in the very short conversation for who's number 3 in college basketball. But 2, beyond that, I also don't think that Juwan Howard is getting enough credit because this isn't one of those teams that returns everybody off last year's roster. Like I said, they lost one of the best point guards in school history. They lost, a center who averaged 12 and 7 for them down low. And so I just want to give Juwan Howard credit because I think right now when you're talking about in the short conversation for National Coach of the Year, I think to me right now, tonight, if I had a vote on January 7th, 2021, about 5-6 weeks into the season with a bunch of weeks to go, Juwan Howard, the head coach of Michigan, would be my National Coach of the Year. Because when I look at his team, I don't even think I had Michigan in my preseason top 25. Gonzaga I had as my preseason national champion. Baylor I think I had at number 3. They were supposed to be good. They're really good. Same with Wisconsin, same with Rutgers, same with Iowa. I didn't have Michigan this good. And so if anything, I give Juwan Howard credit, and he would be my short conversation National Coach of the Year right now. Now, I do know what a lot of Big Ten fans will say, and I do think it's worth mentioning before we get to Arkansas, Tennessee. But the one thing I will say about Michigan is that I think it's fair to say that they have not played the best teams in the Big Ten. It is really interesting. They're 10-0, 5-0 in the Big Ten. But they have not played Iowa. They have not played Wisconsin. They have not played Illinois. They have not played Rutgers. They have not played Indiana. Their 5 wins so far this season are against Penn State, who's not good, Nebraska, who's not good, Maryland, who's not good, Northwestern, we don't know. Minnesota is good, but it was at home. And so I do think it's fair to kind of sit back and say, okay, let's wait and see. Torres, you're giving him too much credit. You're doing the Torres thing where you go too fast, too furious, which sounds like a movie that was made 27 times. But like Torres, you're giving him too much credit too early. Listen, it's like I tell you, I can only do the show on the night that I'm recording. I'm doing the show tonight, and Michigan's awesome. So we will see as the conference schedule gets tougher. But I do want to give credit to Michigan because I do think they are probably I don't think people realize they're the only undefeated team in Big Ten play, and they are really, really, really good, really, really, really dangerous. And as I record here, I think, one, they're absolutely a team that is good enough to play into the final weekend of the season at the Final Four in Indianapolis. And I think they're probably the number 3 team in the country behind Baylor